hypergamy versus interest level cutting through everything. And so I say this a lot in my videos. A woman only cares about how she feels about you, not what a great guy you are. Because you guys are more empathetic, you're more connected to your emotions, you're more nurturing. And if you're going out and dating a guy and you're just not feeling him, you're not feeling his strength, he's not consistently being congruent and masculine, you're going to get turned off. I had a client I had a phone session with this past week. He'd been with his wife for, I think they dated for about a year, and then got married, and then he was on some kind of anxiety medication, and he started weaning himself off of it. And then he went through a period of like 6 months where he was just laying in bed all day, feeling sorry for himself. And, on top of that, with all the lockdowns, it really screwed his business up and his income earning potential. And he just kind of wallowed in his sorrow. And it wasn't until his wife was like, hey, everything you promised me, because she had given up her house, her career, everything, and moved to be with him. And things were good for like the first year. And then he just kind of let himself go. He started weaning himself off this medication, and it really changed how he was showing up. And she was complaining and telling him, and he wasn't doing anything to fix himself. And it wasn't until she's like, I'm going to leave. Something's missing. It doesn't feel right. You're not doing anything that you promised. That, she was ready to leave him, that he actually went and got his medication straightened out and got that all fixed. And now
That's
she's
awesome.
slowly coming back. But, a successful woman like her that was doing very well financially, had her own house, or, is not going to tolerate a guy who's just laying there for months on end and who's not only not doing anything to help himself, he's unpleasant to be around.
Mm-hmm.
And so
I can relate.
You can call it hypergamy, or because the way Rollo presents it in the book is just, women's true nature. I see that in the comments, like guys read that and they think it gives them carte blanche that all women suck and they're ruthless. But I mean, at the end of the day, if you act like a bitch, a woman is going to treat you like a bitch. Men, women, we all want to date and be with somebody that's kind of out of our league or punch above our weight or feel like we really got somebody special that most people want and I lucked out. But at the end of the day, you got to consistently be that person, especially if the woman's going to give up her career, be a stay-at-home mom, and she's going to depend on you to earn the income and pay the bills, and she can focus on nurturing the children. You can't just go through a difficult time like the client I was talking about. He did nothing until his wife was like literally leaving him and wanting to serve him with divorce papers because he wouldn't do anything to help himself. And you got to participate in your own rescue. And I see a lot of guys in the comments that have gotten into Rollo's work and in the red pill community, and they're just angry and they're bitter, and they use it as an excuse to say, well, all women suck. And therefore, it's not their fault at all. They have like no responsibility for the fact that they're displaying unattractive beta male type of behaviors that turn women off.
Right. Because at the end of the day, the attraction's what's going to keep her. And sure, there's some manipulative, conniving women in the world that marry for money or stature, power, whatever. But you can't make a blanket statement and say that every woman in the world is like that. And it goes both ways,
Yeah, it becomes their excuse to be bitter. And like when I see them interacting with women, whether it was like I was telling you one earlier before we started filming about this woman that I think she was from Australia, and she was interacting with this guy that had got in the role of his work, and he's just dude's very condescending, like, I know women's true nature, and you're this, and this, and he's talking at her. He's not talking to her, and he's being condescending to her, but his whole worldview now is like all women suck, because it gave him, he looked at it and he gave himself permission to say, hey, I'm not the problem. Modern women are the problem. As if, out of 7.5, 8 billion people on the planet, every single woman, they just all suck. But
just because they're female. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just because they're female. And you got to participate in your own rescue. If anytime anything in your life or your career, your personal life, your social life, anytime you point the finger and say it's somebody else's fault, then it's no longer, if it's not your fault, then there's nothing to change, there's nothing to fix, there's nothing to get better. And then therefore, and one of our 6 human needs, our 5th human need is growth, spiritual growth. And we have to grow as a human being. And these guys are basically, their growth is stopped.
Mm-hmm.
And they just get in the, especially the toxic part of the red pill community.
They become very, it's us versus them.
Yeah, exactly.
Competitive towards
like it's a
women.
conflict.
Yeah.
And so they treat women like zoo animals.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can tell they're not really interacting with very many women. I don't know what their relationship is like with their mother. Maybe their mothers are not in their lives. I don't know. But it's like I can imagine seeing these guys and some of the comments and things and the nastiness that they say to women in the comments is like, does that dude talk to his mother like that? Does he talk to his sister like that? Does he talk to the women that he works with like that? Because if you act and you behave this way around women, they're not gonna like you. They're gonna fucking hate you.
Yeah.
And if women don't like you because of the way you're behaving, and you believe it all, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. They become stuck in this toxic loop where it's, me versus
they create
the females
enemies.
of mankind, basically.
They're creating enemies out of all of the women in their life. So you're right. It is a self-fulfilling prophecy.
And then the women don't feel safe being around him because that dude ain't acting normal.
No.
He's not at peace. Because masculinity is being dangerous, but being in control, being kind. And so all they do is give off a dangerous, unsafe vibe, and women, they just repel women.
Yeah, erratic, confrontational. Those are not attractive qualities. Those are not things that women are going to be attracted to.
The reality is, if a man lets himself go, just like my client, the dude stopped working out. He stopped trying to find another job when the company he was working for laid him off because of all the lockdowns and what it did to their business. And then he was also an entrepreneur, so his business was kind of going sideways, and he just stopped doing all the things that attracted her in the first place. And he was flailing. And no woman's going to feel safe, especially a woman like that who knows her own worth and gave up a multiple 6-figure-a-year job, sold her house, sold everything, and moved to this dude's country to be with him. And then he just, after a couple years together, he just basically becomes helpless. It's like learned helplessness. And it wasn't until she was leaving and telling him she was going to leave him that he actually snapped out of it and got back into my book and started going back to the gym. And now everything's just starting to click and flow again. He's getting new clients. He's got a new job, paying more money, and things are going well again. And so now his wife is, slowly starting to come back, but obviously she's unsure because she's worried that he's just going to go. What happens if he goes off his meds again?
What you're supposed to do in a relationship is work on those things together. You want to show up for the people that depend on you. So if you are depressed or you're having problems with your medication and you're going off, or your dosage is wrong, or I've gone through this in my past relationship where one of us or both of us was going through something. But the times that it actually worked was when we were working together on it. And I would ask for help, or he would ask for help, and we would do it together and say, we're going to get through this together. But if somebody isolates and cuts themselves off, that's just going to be a disaster. You have to reach out for help and try and not give up when you have people that depend on you. You can't give up. There's no, even I was depressed at one point, and I finally was like, I can't do this to my kids. I have to show up for them. I have to get help so that I can be a good mom, So that's really important in a relationship when people separate. So these Rolo, what are they called?
Rolo zombies, I like to call them.
Oh, is that what whatever, the rational male fans, whatever, the red
the
pill,
platitudes that they
whatever.
heard. They have no idea what they fucking mean.
They become combative against the person, or isolated, or cut themselves off, and they're doing it to themselves, I don't know. It's just a real. It just seems kind of toxic and negative, the whole approach. I understand that Rollo wants to, it's data driven, and he wants to diagnose it by looking at studies and break it all down. But it's human nature, and human nature is not a bunch of scientific studies. Every single person has a different scenario, and we have to just love each other and get in there and be human. And I was saying earlier, I didn't see any comments about love in a relationship till almost the end of the book, and it was very sparse. I just kept waiting, like, when's he going to get to being in love and the
Yeah, there's
feelings of
no
love?
heart. There's no soul in any of his work, and it just, I mean, he talks about his wife, and it's like he says it's boring. It's a boring marriage. So he sounds like a dude that's settled for an average chick, and so it just seems like on some level he's pissed off at women in general, and so his work, there's that vibe, like he feels like a dude that got ripped off, like he didn't get the caliber of woman that he felt he deserved, and so here's why. Because hypergamy doesn't care.
Yeah, it's
And so he's invented
science.
this whole
It's
kind of
science. Yeah.
cult-like religion around this, that other guys that are struggling with women are going, why? What's going on? Why does she not want to date me? Why did she, ghost me after the second date? Or we just had sex and she won't answer my calls now? And they're wondering, and they read this and they go, oh, she monkey branched to another guy because women are ruthless and they don't care. Well, maybe you did a bad job of trying to turn a hoe into a housewife, or you displayed a lot of unattractive behavior that turned her off.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, the thing in the book, there's no solutions to anything. There's just a lot of complaining, and here's why all women suck. And so a lot of guys are adopting this philosophy, and I block them all the time. I know you block them when you see them. They're nasty. If I answer a email from a woman in a video newsletter, I see these guys just a bunch of them just talking shit about her. Or whether it's you or Gracie or one of the other girls is on, and these guys just start going at them. And it's like, I don't need the toxicity. It's like, go be in your red pill community and share your vitriol at somebody else. Because I'm about solutions here. I'm about participating in your own rescue. I'm all about self-reliance. And if you want to be a bitch and you want to bitch out as a man and say all women suck because you're a fucking loser, then go be a loser somewhere else. This is an NFL locker room here. This is where high achievers hang out, and the best of the best come and get tools and information and strategies that actually work, that will make your life better.
I agree with that. I think that approach is lazy too, because if you're in a relationship, you're 50% responsible for how that relationship's unfolding. If it's failing or if it's boring, well, maybe you should show up and do something. Make it not boring. It's an easy fix. But that's not an excuse, You're right, I didn't see a lot of solutions in the book either. It was more just breaking it down and analyzing a viewpoint.
Yeah, it's like a whole book of here's what's wrong with modern women. And because no one will ever do or say anything to you that isn't a direct reflection of how they feel about themselves in a moment. And a guy's putting his work out there, and it's just a big long book about why women suck, and here's why they suck, and why you shouldn't be involved. A lot of guys are seeing that and reading it, and it justifies doing nothing, and they stay stuck in that, and they're just angry and bitter and not getting anywhere, not doing anything to improve themselves.
I agree.